listeners, it's Jana. Welcome back to Grief Out Loud. In June of 2022, one of Steph Tupper's greatest fears as a mother came true. Her two older children, Allie and Joe, were killed in a car crash. Allie was 16, Joe was 14. They were kind, thoughtful kids who were athletic, funny, and extremely close with each other and their younger sister. The night they died changed everything for Steph. We talk about so much related to grief. The night that Steph learned that Allie and Joe had died, what it was like grieving while also parenting her youngest daughter, the ways others showed up for Steph and her family, and the subtle and not so subtle ways people have expressed their judgment and opinions about how she's grieving. But we also talk about Allie and Joe, who they were, the difference they made in this world, and how Steph continues to feel connected to them. One of the things I appreciate most about this conversation is Steph's ability to hold contradictions. She can be happy and heartbroken. She can feel connected to her children and wildly miss their physical presence. It's all related to the both and of grief, and about how sorrow and joy can coexist. Okay, here's my conversation with Steph Tupper. Steph, welcome to Grief Out Loud. Thanks for making time to talk with me.
Oh, thank you for having me today.
Tell us about your kids, Allie and Joe.
Allie was our oldest daughter. She was 16 and she was pretty typical oldest child. She was a go-getter, super dependable. She loved soccer and running, and she was an extremely loyal friend. Our son Joe was 25 months younger than her, and he is someone I would describe as an old soul. He just kind of was intuitive with feelings of people, and he was probably the kindest person I knew. He was just this gentle boy who was always doing check-ins. Also a super athlete, wanted to be involved everywhere. The two of them were the best of friends, and they were a protector of their younger sister. So my three kids were kind of just like the little Three Stooges, always together, doing everything together. So
I know you just passed the 4-year anniversary of their deaths. And what is it like in your heart and in your body today talking about them when you get to share about who they were?
when I get to talk about my kids, I'm always super relieved, excited, happy, but it's always heavy. It looks different than in 4 years compared to year one and year two. For example, I can sit and talk to you and my eyes are welling up with tears, but I'm not crying hysterically, and I can make it through a whole sentence. I think I've just have the capacity now to hold all of it, all the feelings, which has taken me a long time to learn, and I think I'm still learning. I think I probably forever will kind of learn how to do that. I guess maybe a word might be softer, but maybe I just say that to make other people feel better. Because inside it doesn't feel softer. So maybe I just protect it more a little bit.
It seems as though you're saying that over the course of the 4 years, you've been able to grow around the reality of the jagged heartbreak and the joy of talking about them and have both of those things exist inside of you at the same time.
Yeah, it's having the capacity of learning that two things can be real, right? I can be so happy that you're talking about my kids, but the tears can be streaming down my face at the same time. It doesn't mean I want you to stop talking. It just means that I'm also sad. And I think those are both true, and those are both absolutely okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about the day that they died and how you got the news?
So my kids had spent the day, it was their first time that they got to go away with their older cousins without mom and dad or any adults with them. And they were spending the day at an amusement park that was about 3 hours from our hometown. And they had been sharing updates all day. They had been sending pictures and texts. They were just having a fun day. And we got the text that we're heading home. We're going to grab dinner. We're heading home. And that evening, my husband and I decided to meet some friends for supper. And we left our youngest with a babysitter at home, and we met our friends for dinner. And throughout the meal, my brother kept calling me. And finally, I excused myself from dinner and said, "My brother keeps calling. I'm just going to go see what he wants. He's being persistent." When I stepped outside and answered, he just said, "Steph, there's been an accident and you need to come right now." So we were about 45 minutes away from where the accident site was. And I just went back into the restaurant and said, "I don't know what happened. I don't have details, but we got to go. Allie and Joe have been in an accident." And we just hit the road. I kept trying to call my brother to get more details. I kept trying to call everyone's phones, but obviously, in a car accident, nobody in the car had their phones. And my husband and I drove to the accident site, and it was, as you can imagine, horrific. Just emergency vehicles everywhere, helicopters in the field for medical assistance. I will say that probably about halfway there, I can't tell you why, but I had this overwhelming feeling, and I knew as a mom, I just knew that my kids had died. And I would say maybe this peace or calmness came over me, which is crazy to say. And I just looked at my husband and said, "You need to prepare yourself because our kids aren't going to make it." And he was driving, and I said, "You need to calm down. And if you need to pull over so I can drive, let me." And he just kept saying, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" And I don't know why I knew that. And by the time we got there, my brother was the first to see our car. And he came over and told us, Allie and Joe didn't make it. And so that's how we found out that day, which I tell people it was definitely like a scene from a movie. Imagine the most horrific thing you can, and that's what it was.
And to have that feeling come over you on the drive there.
Yeah. When I tell people that, I think they look at me like, "What are you talking about?" And I don't know what it was. I can't describe it, but I remember feeling my heart racing, and then all of a sudden, like it just calmed. And I took a breath, and I was like, "I need to make sure that we get there safely, that they're already gone." To me, in my head, it's like, oh, that was the moment that probably my kids stopped breathing. Maybe it's spiritual, maybe it's something bigger, maybe it's nothing. I have no idea. But to me, I'm like, oh, I knew. And I think when you talk to a lot of other mothers that have experienced child loss, they probably have moments like that where they're like, oh, I knew in that moment. But maybe it's a connection, parent-child connection. I'm not sure.
This may not feel accurate to you, but as you're talking about it, it it almost sounds as though a way of being with them in that moment.
Yes. Being with them, I wish other people could feel it because it was a weird piece of like, I'm with them and it's okay and they're together. Now, 5 minutes later, was it okay? No. Is it okay now? No. But it's definitely a different, maybe, belief.
In the 4 years since Steph, have you experienced any other moments that felt like that? I don't know, like a cutting through to that connection?
I have these feelings all the time, which I'm happy to share them with people and be very open with them. But I'm also like, when people listen to me, they must think I'm crazy. Like, I feel like my kids are just kind of guiding the way. And it's super calming for me. It brings me peace, but it doesn't take away the pain because I still miss them. I want to hug them and watch them grow. But every day I'm like, oh, there's a little sign from Allie, or there's a little sign from Joe. And there's these just little nudges of like, they're okay. It's okay. Life is going to be okay.
It makes me think about like different planes of existence and that there's a way of staying connected to them on one plane of existence and yet also missing them terribly in this other physical plane of existence.
100%. The whole, I wish I had them here physically, right? I want to hear their voice and feel that, but I know they're here. And I think there's so many levels of belief with that, but I could talk about it for hours. Um, of just like, oh, well, I know I should be doing this because I got this little sign from Allie today and I know it's supposed to happen. Or just the sense of feeling their presence with me of like, okay, but it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt that I don't get to see my kids grow up and have their own families or, any of that. That doesn't negate that.
Back to that idea, there's room for all of that.
All of it. So much can be true all at the same time, right? Um, and I think that probably has been the biggest and hardest lesson I've had to learn, that I can move forward in my life and be happy and have joy, but still hold this pain and this wanting all at once. And that's okay. Like I don't need to fix it or change it. It just is, it's okay.
Do Allie and Joe have sort of signature ways that they send connection to you?
I do. So Joe's birthday was the 22nd of April, and probably every day I see the number 22 everywhere. He also has, Joe was super funny. He was like that quiet, sneaky funny. Like if you met him, you'd be like, oh, he's a really polite kid. But he was the one that was saying something under his breath that just kind of cracked everyone up. But nobody knew that that was him saying it. It's just a funny kid. And I see that a lot now because something will happen. I'll be like, oh, that was Joe. So one thing is a lot of days he will send these big, I don't even know what they are in our like local area, but he sends these trucks, Saint Joe. And I'm like, yep, there you are. Okay. Saint Joe. You think you're a saint. Uh, so I feel like with Joe, I get a lot of little nudges. I can tell he was kind of just the kid that looked out for everyone. So he's always sending me little things where I'm like, oh, that's Joe. Allie sends her name, which is really weird. I will be in the most random places, and her full name was Alice Fern, which is kind of a strange name for a younger kid, or a 16-year-old, just because it's an older name. And then seeing Fern anywhere is very strange. But it will pop up in the most random places. I'll be traveling and all of a sudden I'll be standing and there's a store that says it's called Alice or whatever. I don't know. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know why that happened right now, but it sure did. I think I always had those beliefs that like something was guiding us, right? There's little nudges and signs for us to follow that we're doing the right thing. And now I'm so open to them and I'm aware of them that I'm like, I wish more people could see that as adults, we're walking around wondering, are we doing the right thing in life? And I wish people could see, oh yeah, you are. Just pay attention. But it's very easy to say, oh, that was just a coincidence.
You mentioned how Allie and Joe were so protective of their youngest sibling, your daughter. And what was it like telling her the news that they had died?
It was, that is burned in my head. So, it was super surreal to have to leave this accident site, drive home, knowing that your kids died, but it didn't really make sense, right? Death doesn't really make sense to the human brain in the moment. But we still had to drive ourselves an hour home and knowing that our living daughter was at home waiting. And I kept saying that, how will we tell her? How will we tell her? And she was at home with a babysitter, but one of her grandfathers came be there knowing that it wasn't good news. And when we walked in the door. I just turned the corner and she was sitting on the couch and she looked at me. And I said, Annabelle, your brother and sister did not make it. And she just screamed. I only got 9.5 years. It's not fair. And I don't disagree. That wasn't fair. And then she just cried and was it like she just fell asleep. It was in the evening when all this happened. So she fell asleep in my arms, just crying. Um, but I think that's, the second layer of horror with all of this. Then you have to tell other people that love them.
Yeah, to be the communicator of the most unfathomable news.
Yeah, exactly. It's horrific. It's terrible, gut-wrenching.
And to think that that's where she went, was that I got the least amount of time with them of everybody in our family.
Of all the words that could come out of her mouth, I don't know if that's what I was expecting, but I was like, yeah, you only got 9.5 years. And for a 9.5-year-old's brain to go there is, to me, extremely profound.
One of the things we hear from parents who are grieving for their children is how hard it is to figure out the balance or to find their way through tending to their own grief and parenting and caring for their kids who are also grieving. And how did that unfold for you and your husband?
Oh gosh, I still think that's an unfolding for us. I feel like probably the first 6 months I was extremely neglectful to our youngest daughter because I was not like, I don't even feel like I was functioning very well. And there were times where I feel like she was protecting us or me, probably more me more than anything, just because it was so hard to get out of bed and do all the things. And now I think it's interesting because I'm like, she is, 4 years later, she is like strong and stoic and she struggles to like outwardly show her emotions. And I'm like, did I show her too much emotion in that first year of just, the gut wrenching crying, the anger, the rage, the confusion, grief does a number on the human brain. So, and I wasn't one to hold back. I felt like I was going to like internally combust if I didn't let it all out. And I'm like, so her watching that, what did that do to a 10-year-old brain? I feel like I'm still trying to unravel that. I think I look at her at least once a week and say, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to put up a boundary and she's like, yeah, I know, Mom. But I'm like, is this just typical middle school or has she experienced so much and seen so much at such a young age? How has that changed her?
Was that different for her from how she was before Allie and Joe died? Was she more of a outwardly emotionally expressive kid?
She was our Spitfire, to be honest. She was ornery and kind of sassy, and she knew that she was the baby, and she knew she was very protective. So she never withheld anything. She was not reserved. If she thought something at the age of 4, I mean, like at the age of 4, she would just outwardly be like, no, Joe, that's not how it is, and kind of give the sass. That completely changed. She became very quiet and reserved. And occasionally now I will see those glimmers come out of like the original personality of her. I feel like one of the priorities that shifted after my kids died was making sure that, the most devastating thing in the world happens to you and you can't carry yourself forward. We needed people to do it for us. And our community was a huge thing. Our friends that stepped in to carry us, I wouldn't have survived without it. And when I look at Anna now and think, wow, Allie and Joe are gone. Those were your people to carry you through your hard moments. My whole goal as a mom now is we need to find you, your people. And so now, as people enter her life in middle school and as she transitions to high school and she's making new friends, and I see it happening and I see the glimmer of the original Annabelle coming out, I'm like, oh, there it is. We need more of this person in your life. We need to keep them close to you.
The importance of that community, the true community
Exactly.
that can hold you through the hard times, but also reflect back to you the core of who you are.
Yes, yes. And not be afraid of the hard times and not be scared of it, of like, oh, that's too hard for me. I'm just going to turn and run because it scares me.
You've alluded to this a little, but I wondered if you could share more about how this grief has changed you as a person in the world.
I think that something like this just shatters you. And I've spent 4 years, and I think I'll continue the rest of my life just kind of rebuilding who I was, what my priorities were. My family was always the most important, but now it's probably to an extreme where I'm like, nope, my husband and my daughter come first. And I don't have any guilt or second questioning about that at all. I think that I have the perception of I want to live life to the fullest and do all the things, but I approach everything with extreme compassion too. If someone shares their story with me, I don't look away. I mean, like people like you doing a podcast like this is huge. The fact that you'll sit with someone and talk about the hardest moment, the hardest time in their life, and just listen, that is the most healing thing for me on this side. And I don't think that people that live next to me realize that's actually what I needed the most in the first year, was just to talk about things over and over again, just to help process it. And now I recognize that when people come and share their story, oh, they probably don't want me to fix it. Most likely they don't, because I don't have the answer. But they probably are just needing to process it themselves, and I can be a safe space to hold that for them. That's huge.
As you were describing driving to the accident scene, I was imagining that as a mom, you've maybe envisioned something like that 100 times over, 1,000 times over, of being worried about your kids. And I wondered what your relationship to that type of anticipation or worry is now.
Before the accident, I was full of anxiety. That's all I ever did was worry about my kids. If I'm completely honest, talking about connection and signs and meaning, I always had this gut, and maybe every mom does. I always had this like underlying gut feeling that something bad was going to happen, but I couldn't put my finger on what. And I feel like there was something in my life that always directed my attention towards, like, just directed my attention away from it. It was never Allie and Joe dying in this way. So it might have been like my health. Oh, it's going to be me. Or I really worried a lot about Annabelle as a young child. It was never this. And then at 16, Allie started driving, and I was like, such a hovercraft parent. And she was like, Mom, you need to stop worrying. She actually was in counseling herself her sophomore year of high school, and we have met her counselor after she died. Like, I met her counselor and talked to her, and she said, Steph, the first thing Allie ever said to me in our first session was, my mom worries so much. I wish she would stop. And now I have like none of those fears anymore, because I know the worst can happen to people. And I know that people will work through it and carry it and move forward. But I don't have any of those same fears that I used to. I mean, it's stuff I can't control anyways. So why do I waste the energy worrying so much about it?
Was that something you actively worked towards, or was that something that just happened? Because I've talked with so many people who might have the opposite reaction, right? Of like, the worst is, can happen. So now all I do is worry about more worst happening.
Yes. So I feel like it just completely lifted from me the fall after my kids died. Like, I just was like, whatever, like, not in like a whatever, I don't care, but more of like I know it can happen. It probably actually will, right? Like 50% of us that are married are going to lose a spouse. and I just have that reality. But I think like one of the things that has pulled me through is that I have a faith or a trust or a belief in something bigger than here, that there's something more than just the day in, day out. And so I think I just had this clarity of like, oh yeah, you can't control death. You can't. Nobody can. None of us can. That's the only thing that we for sure know is gonna happen. So I think this clarity just came, but I have we've met many families that have lost children, and I see the opposite in some mothers too, of like worrying about their living children, that it could happen again. And I see that. I can see the anxiety. I can see why they're anxious. I just don't hold that anymore.
Now I'm wondering if you've had conversations in your mind with Allie about not worrying as much as you did when she was alive.
I'm probably using the word conversation too literally, but I'm constantly talking to my kids in my head about things, or to me, kind of, I laugh of like, oh yeah, I thought it was going to end up like that. Or, like, sorry guys. Um, like, whoops, sorry about that one. I really messed that one up. One of the biggest things that I told Allie was like, it's not going to be you that hurts yourself on the road. It's going to be someone else. Like, I literally said this to her, and then 6 months later, she died. It's not going to be you on the road. It's going to be somebody else. Part of me is like, wait, did I subconsciously know? Like, do we know these things? Like, do we have these? I don't know. It's a very weird thing to think about. And probably you're the only one I'll be like, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? It's weird why we make choices we do in our lives, or feel or have certain beliefs.
Have there been ways in which you felt like other people were judging how you were grieving?
Oh, yeah. I think I still feel that way. One of my prime examples that still I'm kind of flabbergasted by happened right in the beginning. I remember 2 or 3 people coming and saying, hey, did you get the card we sent? Because we never got a thank you for that memorial donation. And I remember in the moment thinking, oh my gosh, people are expecting me to write thank yous for giving money because my kids died. And that is like a weird expectation to have, that you're judging me that I didn't get a thank you out in a timely fashion at the worst time of my life. Like, whoa. And I remember somebody telling me as I was preparing for the funeral, you're not going to wear mascara to the funeral? And I was like, mascara? Like, I'm going to be crying. What? And realizing, oh, everyone has an opinion about this, and none of them have experienced it at all. And I think now it's been more subtle things of like, if my husband and I get an invitation and we're both in a space where we just are like, we can't do that. We can't be in a social setting right now. There's lots of, well, why? And judgment like that of like, well, and I just think that is probably natural. I'm sure I did it before I had 2 kids die, but it's made me take a step back of, oh yeah, I truly don't know what other people are living with or carrying or going through at all.
On the other side of that, have there been ways that people have, either through their actions or through their words, that really landed as supportive?
I think the best thing that both my husband and I have seen is the people that are consistent, just steady and consistent, no matter what they see or face with us, no matter the emotion. Like it's like they don't take anything personally. So if we're having a really bad grief day and we're sad or angry, they realize that the emotion truly isn't about them. It's more about the fact that our children are dead. And then it might be a rough day, but the next day they still show up steady and consistent with an invitation or an offer. Like, that has taught me so much about how you support someone through a hard time. Is even if they tell you no, don't have that fear of rejection and run away, because it's not about you, and more about well, your answer was no today, but I will offer tomorrow. And maybe tomorrow it will be a yes. Maybe tomorrow it will be a no again, but I'm going to ask the third day and the fourth day. And I'm going to ask a year later and 2 years later and 3 years later. Those people that are consistent with all of that, consistent with remembering dates, consistent with saying Allie and Joe's name, consistent with asking questions and being curious, consistent with accepting our responses of like, hey, that isn't helpful. Um, I I think that that has been huge. Those people that can be just steady and present.
Yeah, that consistency and the ongoing nature of it, right? Is a reflective of how grief isn't something that just like wraps up in a year, and that to have folks who are continuing to reach out.
Yes, and I think as a person who's grieving, like I noticed the waves, right? Like I noticed, okay, at 1 month, we still had a lot of support. Two young children dying, that's still a lot of support. At 6 months, okay, it's quieter. At 12 months, I could tell the people, oh, you're getting tired of this. You're drifting away. 15 months, okay, this is too much. 18 months, it was like a wave of people leaving. And I was like, oh, okay, 18 months is too long for people. Definitely by 4 years, our circle is very small. And it's like, we're still have two dead kids. And I think that that's the piece that's really hard for people to swallow. When death happens, that's permanent. Like you get to go off tomorrow and see your kids and be around them and talk to them. But Zach and I still have two dead children. Like that won't change. So why would the grief be gone? Logically, like when I say it out loud, I'm like, logically, it doesn't even make sense. But emotionally, people want it to be something different.
That hope and wish that, perhaps you'll go back to being the Steph that you were before Allie and Joe died, or yeah.
Yeah. And my husband had someone say that to him at one point. We just want the Tuppers back that were here. And he was like, oh, well, two of them are dead. So that's not going to happen. And to be honest, I think I look at it like I died that day. I'm a completely different human. I have a different perspective. I have a different outlook. I have different priorities. You're going to have to get to know the new Steph and decide if you want to be part of that or not. Which I think most grieving people have a similar experience like that of like, oh, I'm not that same person. This changed me to my core.
In that, and connected to the idea of finding community, have you connected with other moms who are grieving, and what has that been like?
They're the most beautiful humans in the world. Speaking of signs and how your kids have been there, that is one thing that happened right away. And I didn't really realize it was happening. But Zach wanted, my husband, he kept saying, we need to find other parents that have been through this. We need to find other parents that have been through this. And as his wife, I was like, I want to support him through this, but how do you just find people with dead children? Like, do I put an advertisement out? I didn't know. So I constantly was just like, okay, we're going to do this. I'd pray about it. Please, like, how do I find these people? And one day our house has a side garage and a front door, and we don't usually use the front door because we go out the garage. And I walked through the front entrance, and my husband was still working at home at the time, and our front door was open. And I said, hey, what is this package here? Who left this? And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I opened this package, and it was a prayer shawl and a card from a mother who had lost her son. No. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a sign. This was sent to me on purpose because I didn't know how to find these people. And this mom had just dropped it off on our porch one day because she had heard the news and was heartbroken and just wrote me a beautiful card. And I called her and she was like, do you want to meet? And I said, yes. And then I realized, oh yeah, we do need to meet other families that have had child loss in their life. So I have a very strong group. It's sad to say, a larger group of women that have lost children. that have either reached out to me or I have met in support groups, or it's unique how we've been interwoven, I guess. But they are a steady source of support for me.
I know you just passed the 4 year anniversary, and we talked a little bit about how the grief maybe feels, maybe the grief doesn't feel different, but you feel different with the grief over those 4 years. And I'm wondering what you and your family have done around the anniversary the last 4 years.
On the anniversary day, we usually gather. Speaking of the other families, we set up luminaries and such, but each luminary holds the name of a child that has passed. And we invite our friends and family, and then we also invite the families we have met that have lost or had lost to be there on that day. And we just spend that evening together watching the sunset in our yard. The first year was very difficult. This year, when I looked around, I was like, oh, people are laughing. That's good. People are enjoying themselves. People are joking. People are connecting, which was huge for me to just kind of be able to take that step back on 4 year and be like, oh, this is a beautiful support system that we have around us. And then as we're standing there in this group and I'm watching, one mom came over and she goes, are you kidding me right now? Look at your beautiful kids. And I look up and there's these two monarch butterflies just flying over this large group of like 40 or 50 people. And I was like, oh, yep, there they are. We have found that the anniversaries and the birthdays and all of those things, that it's better for us to have support around us than to isolate on those days. Even to decide what to do. How do you decide how to handle any of that? Very tricky, I think.
That brings me back to thinking about your youngest daughter, Annabelle, and if you've had to negotiate as a family about how to approach particular days, just knowing that sometimes within families, people have different ideas of what they want to do or how they want to spend those days.
Yeah, that was there's a organization called Grief Share, and we had participated in it like right away. And some of that, like I don't even know how I had the wherewithal to like get involved in grief communities right away. And probably some of it we did way too soon. But I remember going to Grief Share right before those first holidays in 2022. And one of the first things they said to me is sit down, make a plan, have a plan for all the anniversaries, all the holidays. Not that you're going to be able to control your emotions. You need to let your emotions come and ride them. But if you can't handle things looking the same as they used to, your traditions, change them, change it. So I think this past holiday season finally was the first one where I felt some sense of peace. Okay, that felt okay for us. But I think every year it has been the three of us sitting down and being like, what do you like? What traditions can we keep? What are ones that are okay to release? How can we change this to make this feel better for us? But that is extremely hard to navigate. But that was probably one of the best pieces of advice that I read that first holiday season is maybe do something different. And it's okay. But now we have really open conversations about every single holiday because I feel like it can still change. So what do you want to see for this one? And we just sit down and I usually ask my husband and my daughter before the holidays come in. So this one's coming. What do you think we should do for this one? What was good last year? My daughter has claimed that next year we're all running the 5K for the turkey trot. Mom, that includes you. You don't get to walk. I don't know. I don't know. So that's been her this summer. Did you run? Did you run?
I'm laughing a little bit to myself because it's wild to hear about a family taking all the advice that we would give from Dougie Center about how, and like, oh, look, it works. That's good to know that that's actually helpful. So,
yes. Like I said, I'm like, it's kind of crazy that I went to these things, but I think it's even more poignant, the pieces that stood out to me that I grasped and used, right? One of the pieces of advice you hear is the stuff, like you lived with these people. And someone said, don't don't put yourself on a timeline to touch any of it or change any of it. You handle it when you handle it. And I still am like, okay, I will handle it when I handle it. And that is fine. But like going back to you being like judged or pressured, I've had people say, well, if you want me to come help clean out bedrooms. And I'm like, what? What? Clean what? I can't handle that yet. Like stuff like that, where it's like, oh, but those bits of advice are life-saving, like mentally life-saving. Because if I would have the pressure of what other people think I should be doing, it would have rushed me through a lot of things and probably been very mentally harmful.
What is your relationship with Allie and Joe's things and their rooms?
So Ollie's room is pretty much still the same. That this summer I have told myself I'll go through one drawer at a time, and that's all I can handle. Joe's room, we were going to redo it the summer he died. And so that summer I like got rid of his bed, but we turned it into a kind of a sitting family space. And I just sit in there and reflect, journal, read, kind of like maybe my little prayer room, just kind of a quiet space. There is the strangest picture on the wall because his best friend gave him a funny little picture when they were studying something in English, but it's a man sitting in this extremely large shoe. I don't know. There's some joke behind it, but he got it for his birthday from his best friend. And Joe decided to post that thing right on his wall, And I'm like, whatever, it's your room. Well, I went in to take it down one day because I was going to give it to his best friend. And Annabelle, our youngest, came running in the room and just screaming, "What are you doing?" And I was like, well, I was going to give this back to Zach. I'm sure Zach wants it. His best friend's name was Zach. Zach. Zach wants it. And she was like, no, you're not. That's Joe's. Don't touch it. And I was like, oh, even for her, moving their things has a huge impact. So now we kind of all have to agree. This summer, I cleaned out the garage and we had soccer shoes. And I had to call my husband and say, it's time. I need to get rid of these soccer shoes. They're just getting rotted out here. And he said, can you just take a picture of the orange ones, please? Like little things like that. A lot of it's still the same because just doing one thing is so exhausting, takes so much emotional energy. And sometimes coming back from those hard hits is too much.
And to take the timeline away. What a relief to not have to feel the pressure to get it done in a certain amount of time or in a certain way.
Yes, yes. And I think that's the other beautiful thing about the community of moms is that I can sit with those moms and they will say the same thing. Oh, I haven't touched her bedroom, or we still have all of his clothes, and just being like, okay, see, I'm not doing it wrong. And it's so easy to think you're doing it all wrong when you're hurting so much.
I'm always go back to like it's wrong. I mean, everything feels wrong. So how could you not be thinking I must be doing something wrong because it's still hurting so bad? But it's not the amount of pain and hurt is no indication of whether or not you're grieving, quote unquote, the right way or the wrong way.
Exactly. That's such a beautiful way of saying it too. It's wrong. This whole situation is wrong. So, of course, as a parent, every move I make, I feel like I'm handling it wrong. As a griever, I must be doing it wrong because this entire thing just feels wrong right now. Really, I'm going to steal that perspective and share it.
I'll happily give it to you. Steph, as we come towards the end of our time together today, I think about the back to school time. It's such a unique time in general, but I think particularly for parents who have had children die. And I wonder what those times of year have been like for you.
Back to school is gut-wrenching. Just watching all the kids go back. It's really easy for my brain to go down the road of, I wonder what my kids would have been doing. And I have found for my own mental health and making sure that I'm living present, like in the present moment, I can't let myself go down those roads very long because it can turn to a place of self-pity, which then turns to anger very fast. So I would say I try to focus more on Annabelle going back to school. I work in education, so I try to focus more on, okay, this is my time to reset as well. But I will say it is, I think this year I'm still trying to navigate all the friends that are talking about, like Joe should be a senior this year. So all the friends that are talking about senior year, and Allie should be moving probably into an apartment or something like that. And hearing those things and finding, again, the duality, finding joy that their kids get to do that, but the heartbreak that my kids never got to, and kind of holding space for that feeling. But back to school is kind of soul crushing a little bit. Sometimes with my grief, I think, okay, I just gotta bite down and bear it. Like it's just, this is like I can anticipate a tough season, and that means I feel like now I know what to do a little more, right? Like, okay, maybe I need to be a little quieter or take more time, or maybe I need to spend time with these people or put my focus here. I can see that now. Instead, in the early days, it was more of like, what's happening? My nervous system is going insane. So,
what a difference too between how do I get to a place where this season isn't hard versus I know the season is going to be hard and I know I'm going to get through it. And here are some things that maybe have helped me with the hard in the past, and I can try those again.
yeah, that I feel like that first year, it was like take away the pain or resisting the pain. And now I can maybe cognitively say it's coming, it's going to hurt, feel it, what things helped, so that the emotion or the feeling will move through you because you know that it's just a feeling and it will keep moving. But I think all of those things are like finding the resources, stuff the Dougie Center does, or grief groups or whatever. I remember going to therapy with my husband in the first month, and the therapist saying, I'm not going to take this away, but I'm going to help you heal and find the capacity to hold it. And he got so irate. And now I think he understands it. Because she's like, I wanted the grief waves are going to come. They're always going to come. I want the space in between to be longer. And I want when you hold it to be more functional. And he was like, this will never be like that. Like he was so upset. And now 4 years later, I think we both can say, okay, this is going to be hard. Like I can text my husband and be like, I feel it coming. This is going to be a hard week. I'm going to have to do X, Y, and Z. Can you help me? Can you help take care of Anna a little extra or whatever it might be? But I think we can communicate it with each other a little better than those first years.
I just always sit with that resistance of like, I don't want to have to figure that out. I want this to just go away because I don't want to have to figure out how to hold this.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and the resistance you feel physically in your body with that, it's a lot.
Well, Steph, I'm thankful for us being able to connect today and to hear about Allie and Joe and to learn more about you and your family and your grief. Is there any last thing you feel like you want to be able to say today?
Thank you for letting me talk about my children. I think that is the most beautiful gift.
Well, thank you, Steph, again for sharing with me and with our listeners about Allie and Joe and about the process you and your family continue to go through in grieving for them. And listeners out there, thank you for being part of the show, for sharing episodes with people who might be helped or supported in some way by what we're talking about here. If you'd like to reach out to me directly, you can always email me at griefoutloud@dougie.org. That's DOUGY.org. That's our main website, and if you head there, you'll find information about our local programming, including our peer grief support groups, all of our free downloadable resources, each and every episode of Grief Out Loud, and also information about our ongoing training and education opportunities. I'm always excited to share that the podcast is sponsored in part by the Chester Stephan Endowment Fund. Grief Out Loud is a production of Dougie Center, the National Grief Center for Children and Families in Portland, Oregon. Thanks again for listening. I hope you'll join us again next time.